Hello.
Hello, my love.
So today we wanted to invite you into, I think it's afternoon now, rainy afternoon chat. And a reading I decided to pull to share with both of us
Okay.
is a book about the teachings of the Hindu mystics,
Oh, nice.
because that is my background.
Okay.
On my mother's side, I am Sri Lankan.
Mhm.
And I looked through the table of contents to pick one to share today,
Mhm.
and this one just jumped right out at me.
Okay.
The Story of the Rock. I had to. It's only two little pages. So.
Okay.
Okay. There is a great rock which is full of tenderness and affection, which is obvious and ever clearly perceived, which is soft, which is omnipresent and eternal. Within it, countless lotuses blossom. Their petals sometimes touch one another, sometimes not. Sometimes they are exposed, and sometimes they are hidden from view. Some face downward, some face upward, and some have their roots intertwined. Some have no roots at all. All things exist within it, though they do not. O Rama, this rock is indeed the cosmic consciousness. It is rock-like and in its homogeneity. Yet within it, all diverse creatures of this universe appear to be. Just as one conceives or imagines different forms within the rock, the universe is also ignorantly imagined to exist in this consciousness. Even if a sculptor creates different forms in the rock, it is still rock. Even so, in the case of this cosmic consciousness, that is a homogeneous mass of consciousness. Even as the solid rock contains potentially diverse figures which can be carved out of it, the diverse names and forms of the creatures of this universe exist potentially in cosmic consciousness. Even as rock remains rock, carved or uncarved, consciousness remains consciousness, whether the world appears or not. The world appearance is but an empty expression. Its substance is nothing but consciousness. In fact, even these manifestations and modifications are but Brahman, the cosmic consciousness, though not in the sense of manifestation or modification. Even this distinction, modification in the sense of modification, or any other sense, is meaningless in Brahman. When such expressions are used in relation to Brahman, the meaning is quite different, like water in a mirage. Since the seed does not contain anything other than the seed, even the flowers and the fruits are of the same nature as the seed. The substance of the seed is the substance of subsequent effects too. Even so, the homogeneous mass of cosmic consciousness does not give rise to anything other than what is in essence. When this truth is realized, duality ceases. And this is from the Yoga Vashishta. Thank you.
That's neat. I really like that.
What stood out of it for you?
Well, I like the lotus because it's, born from the quagmire and shit in the bottom of the lake. And the lake is comprised of some of the shit, but the lake is not the shit, and the shit is not the lake. Yet, so much grows from that, and like people, we fight to grow up, right? In a sense, where we're using the sunlight of the spirit, we're using the rain of love, we're using the soil of our daily experience, yet our daily experience is not us. And yet we're all part of one and the same. You know, when you said in the rock, I was thinking of on the rock, like the planet Earth, right? So we're all earthlings because we're all from the rock, yet we're all separate and collective. You know, even like the coronavirus, which it turns out people are the best carriers for it, right?
Yeah.
That it circumvented all the barriers through air travel, right? Something that you would think would be not natural in our Earth, yet it must be natural because we made it, like a bird nest or something that we make, and that we're all circling in and around and with each other. You know, and the people who used to live on this rock, my father or mom or Negrim or other people from the past, even though their consciousness is not walking around the earth today that I'm aware of consistently, like I'll see birds or signs or things like that.
That's true.
Yet they're all still alive in the recall of us.
Yeah.
You know, and when Mama was in California and we were out here, even though we didn't see her, our consciousness was still connected to her heart. Right? And that hasn't changed. I still love and miss my father. I still love and miss Mom. I still love and miss Lisa and Negrum and the people who don't have another day. Don't have another day. So that's kind of telling me to believe on some level that we're all interrelated and interconnected. You know, butterfly effect on out.
Yeah.
That's what I got out of it. How about you?
It's funny that you mentioned you thought of the earth. You know, I did think of it when, you know, they talk about the rock. I imagine the big rock of this earth, you know, the planet rock. And how, you know, we are one with it, you know, in so many ways. You know, the word homogeneous kept coming up in cosmic consciousness, the two most repeated words in this story of the rock. And it just reminded me how we are so much at one with this earth, you know. Again, examples like the coronavirus, you know, that's because we are at one with the earth. We are at one with the smallest particles of this virus, that it can be transmitted through us, and in fact is, you know. It's homogeneous in a sense, you know, it's looking for a host. We are that host. It's that cycle, you know. And that cycle also lends to birth and destruction, you know. That's just how we live and we die and we create and we cease to exist. And it's just that beautiful cycle of life and death. But the cosmic consciousness, I kept seeing like almost like a big cloud, but full of electricity and particles and energy, and it just moves around us and it's all interconnected. Our auras are one, you know. And I just saw it so visually that um, you know, what I think and feel is being taught and felt in someone else on the other end of this earth in a different life and experience, but yet it's connected, you know. And you know, when I was younger, I never really thought much about living and dying. You know, I just thought they were just destinations. You know, okay, this is life. You live this portion, and then you get to that destination with this death, and that's it. Now it's like become so fluid. You know what I mean? Sometimes a thought might die, an emotion might die, and we experience that daily. We might seize a behavior that was what we used in our lifetime of self-sufficiency, you know. So living and dying had become more than just destinations, but also just concepts for every day, you know.
Nice.
Yeah. And I feel like it's such a gift to be alive today in a different way that I felt it was a gift to be alive maybe 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's, you know, we're witnessing something, we're witnessing renewal, we're witnessing rebirth, we're witnessing evolving the virus is evolving, has evolved. That's, I know it's a weird way to look at it, and I know there's a lot of pain and suffering that people are going through at the moment, but somehow this is all linked to something, and it's just part of the path of renewal and, yeah, and discovery, I guess. So that's what I got out of it.
And to piggyback on what you just said,
Mm.
all the factories shut down,
Mm-hmm.
all the cars shut down, right? So the human virus to this planet, we eradicate species, we eradicate land masses. And look what happened when we stopped our excessiveness. Dolphins
Right.
came to Italy,
Yeah.
right? Otters came to Singapore. Like, life will always return to its homogeneous state, like it or not.
Right.
Like it or not. You overuse the resources of the earth will counterbalance that to support those who, don't or can't. And how much more precious is life today? Every time we look on Facebook, someone's doing an honor for someone who just passed because of COVID, and we're seeing faces, and we're watching first line people, and we're watching essential people. Essentially everyone's essential.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The people who were in the middle class weren't thought to be holding it up. It was thought the corporations did, yet the corporations come to a grinding halt if the middle class doesn't put a hand out. And we move through classes in life, whether it's a socioeconomic class, a spiritual class, right? An emotional class.
Or a species class.
A species class, right?
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Thank you. Would we like to go on to your pick today?
All right. So one of the things I struggled with was the difference between religion and spirituality. I used to hear where something came from, some book from some religion, or some person or representative from that religion, and I would instantly have a reaction or an attitude, which basically meant a lack of open-mindedness.
Yeah, me too.
Which I didn't realize at the time, and I didn't realize that a spiritual entity or higher power or God or whatever the terminology is a set of ideals based around love and kindness for me. So there's this book that I read from time to time.
Okay.
And I read a lot of stuff on alcoholics because I'm an alcoholic. So things that affect isms: alcoholism, drug addiction, shopping, gambling, sex, whatever excessiveness there is. And then it says, though my sobriety had come easy, because when I put it down the last time in '98, I haven't had to fight daily. After some time went by, the growing up business hadn't. Both emotional and spiritual growth have always been mighty difficult for me. My quest to understand myself and better to know spirit, a spirit or a God, and what God's intended purpose for me is, or higher power or goddess or what have you. What's the intended purpose for me to be? Became a matter of great urgency. The spiritual leaders of the world, I reflected, so I had to reflect on what they said, must represent the accumulated wisdom of the ages in matters moral and theological. So, I can hear the truth. It doesn't matter what the source is, whether it's Allah or Buddha or Jesus or Confucius or Wiccan. They have a vast wealth of information, and I can choose to apply it or not. So I began to make friends with them, the spiritual leaders, and the different books, like we're reading Hinduism or other eclectic things. This time to listen and not to argue. And I always had an argument ready. Well, and instead of looking for what I might find, I had an argument against anything that came in conflict with what my current beliefs were.
Mm.
And sometimes my current beliefs are crappy beliefs. You know, when I'm drinking and self-destructing, I believe I deserve bad things.
Mm. Okay.
I believe I deserve to be punished for the harms I've caused others.
Mm.
And so I lose the ability to have humility, which is just to see how I fit. You know, I judge the process.
Yeah.
You know, and when I felt ugly, I did ugly things to me. And I projected ugliness onto myself and to other people.
Mm.
And when I started reading spiritual books or books that other people said help them feel connected, right? So whatever's loving, whatever's kind, whatever's helpful.
Yeah.
When I stopped looking at the cover of the book and started opening my mind to the contents,
Mm.
things changed.
Yeah.
Because I became willing to open myself up, you know, and vulnerability and transparency and authenticity means I get to say, I don't know. I don't know if this is true, or I don't know if this is right. Where before I felt like if I knew things, then I could prevent things, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if I knew how someone was going to respond, I could prevent myself from getting my feelings hurt instead of saying, I can become homogenous with all things, even people I don't agree with or concepts I don't agree with. There's room for all.
Mm.
There's room for all, and wherever I fight that is where I seem to suffer.
Ah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's where I seem to suffer. You can't pick any representative of any religion
Mm.
or theoretical abstract and say, this is. You know, I don't care whether you pick Buddha or Jesus or any entity that walked the planet. That was one living creature's experiences.
Exactly. Mm.
So why do we think that we're supposed to replicate someone else's life? It's impossible.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's what we're here for.
Mm.
You know, I think we're all a unique seed from the same earth. And we all sprout the way we're supposed to. And sometimes I grow leggy and scraggy, and, you know, other times I'm withering because I'm isolating, you know. And so today I shouldn't say I don't. I try not to look at good and bad. Can I accept it as it is without trying to change it, including myself?
Mm-mm.
I'm not who I used to be, and I'm not who I'm going to be.
Yeah.
You know, can I just be okay in the cycle of myself in this day?
I like that.
Huh.
Can I be, yeah, wow. That's
Right?
beautiful. Can I be okay with the cycle of myself in this day?
We're always
That's a nice
transitioning.
Yeah.
I will never be younger than I am today. I will not. So I can lament the past.
Yeah.
I can covet the past and hold it to me. And I can lose my day living in the past.
Mm.
You know, I can wish for the future, $1 million lottery ticket.
Yeah.
I can ache for the future. I hope someone's holding my hand as I die. Or I can say, right now is an hour ago's future.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it?
So what am I afraid of, really? So I don't want to live in fear. So today I'm going to look for, let me think. I'll look for 3 positive, loving, kind things I can do for someone else. And I think if I keep the focus on that, what I think and feel will just take its rightful place for that homogeny you talked about.
Yeah.
What did you get out of the read?
That was beautiful. I'm still absorbing what you just said. That's gorgeous. So your reading over there, it brings me to reflect about how my spirituality or my spiritual consciousness came to be. I, very similar like you, I grew up with parents of a different religious background, and each had their fervor for what, you know, they were excited about. and we were just kids. So I guess the awesome part was that they never actually imposed either on us. So we were never dragged off to church or dragged off to temple. They never did that. They did speak about their own religions in their own ways. And I was a little bit confused though by it all. You know, I definitely took a lot of heart in some of their representatives. Like my grandmother was a representative of the Hindu religion. And I thought, wow, you know, she's a great person, she's gentle, she's kind. And I used to see her do her little rituals. Sometimes she would involve me in her own way, never imposing or trying to force it on me. You know what I mean? I probably had asked her in the moment, can I do something for you?
Yeah, nice.
And then she would have gone, yeah, maybe you can light this incense stick, or, you know. And I was curious about the smell of the ash that she used to put on her forehead, the texture. And it was all very, it was almost very magical to me. I never understood it though. And likewise with my dad's religion, you know, he used to go off to church every Sunday. I'd see him a lot of the time in evenings, you know, in the evenings after work, he would sit by himself and read texts that were a mystery to me. So I'd be like, oh wow, I wonder what he's, you know, finding in these books. And he'd get very deep in it. He'd spend hours in quiet contemplation, and I remember that. So both were very mysterious, and that was my first, you know, origins of learning what religion was. And unfortunately, as time went on, you know, when I got out into the world, there were some pushes of religion, you know, where they thumped whatever their basis for excitement and longing and, you know, and belonging and longing were. And it caused a sense of resistance more and more as I grew up. I'm like, why are they pushing their agenda? And I started to see that representation as I grew up, from the innocent one to now, okay, whoa, this is too much. Or, you know, my natural rebel in me was like, no thank you. You know, and I couldn't understand why people would push their agenda like that. Still baffled though by what religion is and how people could be so excited about what, you know, they know to be true or what they've discovered. I just couldn't understand it. I didn't understand how someone could be like that, you know. And then, you know, I fast forward to thinking of, you know, the only times that I ever turned to something other than myself were in moments of desperation, you know, with a breakup, with a horrible situation upon me, or something that caused me great sadness or hurt. In those moments, I would be desperate for something other than myself to hear me in that moment of desperation. And those were the moments that I did turn to something other than myself. And, you know, funny enough, I was so resistant to the G word, God, right? So resistant all my life, like whatever.
Right.
Yet in those moments, I do have to be honest that I did say, oh shit, God, please help me, please. Oh, I'd be crying and I'd go, oh, help me, God, like, why is this so hard, you know? And I'd use the very word that I opposed. And, but not understanding anything else. You know, I just couldn't understand in those moments of asking God, why didn't I then receive? Why didn't the next day just magically alter itself and all the wrongs righted? And then that made me, you know, it led me to a false sense of believing that there is no such thing. You know, this is a pointless task, you know, like no one's going to answer Shamala, you know? That's very naive of you. And of course the critics in me were like, yeah, whatever, you know. So much for that. And I guess it was through discovery later on, I would say in the last 5 years, really, you know, from moments of true suffering and true hopelessness and helplessness, that I had to go to those bottoms, to those pits. Sometimes alcohol induced, sometimes not. At the end of the day, it was just a spiritual bottom. And from that, I slowly began to climb up. And I came into contact with people. I started being, I guess, seeking was the first thing out of that, right? Instead of wallowing in self-pity, which was very much my 20s. And, I am the victim. This is all about me, I started seeking. So that was the first ladder that I clung onto as I climbed out, Okay, what is up there? Instead of staying down here. This has only been so long that I can handle of staying down here. And as I climbed ladder by ladder, and I turned to people like yourself, to ask, hey, what is on the other side, Well, how does it look out there? Basically, right? So the seeking led me to discover spirituality differently.
Yeah.
And I had to earnestly want it for myself. And that's a key point, because a lot of people want, at the end of the day, the Bible thumpers, the goddess pushers, the whatever you want to call it, right? Their thumping and their enthusiasm comes because they're so desperate to help others, actually.
Yeah.
Because they found a solution
For them.
Yeah. And they're like, we've got to help others. People are suffering, and I get that now. And the difference is we, have to feel it earnestly for ourselves. And sometimes people in those situations may not realize that at the time, but people have to discover their own bottoms. They have to rise out of it, and then they have to seek. And wherever that leads, they shall find. And that, is kind of what I got from yours, and it just made me reminisce of that, and the importance of honoring each other's journey. We have to let people be. We have to let people crumble. We have to let people fall. And that's hard when we love people around us.
True.
So deeply, our children downstairs and our grandkids, sometimes we want to protect them. Our nieces, our nephews, as they grow up, we're going to be like, oh, and I feel that with my cousins, my little cousins. But, we just have to let them be. And the greatest gift is supporting them, and just offering glimmers of hope of what is it like up there, without pushing any agenda. And yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, thank you all for sharing our morning coffee chat.
Thank you. It's a rainy day out there, and it seems so perfect, to turn and reflect. And we wish you all a really good day ahead. Bye.
Bye.